Welcome, everyone. I would like to introduce one of my favorite people. He is very, very near and dear to my heart as this man helped me start my career in coaching. He took a chance on a young woman who was lost in a line in a hotel as I was looking for a job right out of college. Coach Gil Garza is a man that I have known for a very long time, but he also knew my dad for a very long time as well and coached with him in the Rio Grande Valley. So I'd like to welcome you, Gil. Thank you for being here with us.
Thanks, Lizette. I'm excited to be here and looking forward to this.
Now, I know it's a new experience being on Zoom, and the technology has advanced most definitely. So thank you. If you would, Gil, please tell us a little bit about how you got started in this career and your path, because you've been to a lot of places in your career, but where did you start? And then now that you're retired, where did you end?
Okay, I'm probably going to be a lengthy answer, Lizette, because I've had a long career. I worked 43 years in education, and that's a long time. But as I go into my career, you'll understand why I stayed so long. But I started out, I graduated from back then, Pan American University. I was very fortunate enough to be a college baseball player and enjoyed my time at Pan American. Afterwards, I started working for the Edinburgh School District, first as a middle school coach, and then as a high school assistant for about 8 years. And then I became a head baseball coach at Calchelsea High School in 1983. And that was the beginning of my head coaching experience. I coached there 1 year as a baseball coach. And that following summer, there was an opening as a head football coach and athletic director. My principal and I visited, and we went to the superintendent. Long story short, I got the job as the head football coach, but the principal didn't let me quit coaching baseball. So for 5 years, I was the head baseball coach, the head football coach, and the athletic director. And man, I was lost. I mean, I called Richard Flores, who was my mentor and the head coach at Edinburgh, almost every day. And as time went on, I called him less and less. He knew that I was starting to fly because I wasn't calling him so much. But I did that for 5 years. And then I got an opportunity to go to PSJA when PSJ was only one high school. That was in 1988. And I became the head football coach and athletic director there. And one of the years, the head baseball coach got he got an assistant principal's job in August. So we couldn't find a baseball coach. So the superintendent said, well, you coach baseball for a year and then we'll find a baseball coach. And we had a great year that year too, coaching baseball. But I stayed there. In 1991, we built another high school in PSJA. So I just became the full-time athletic director in 1991. And I stayed till 2002. And then the head job opened up in San Antonio as the athletic director. It's multi-schools. There were 8 schools at the time. And I applied and got the job. Very fortunate for that. And you know, Lizette, today I am the only Hispanic athletic director in San Antonio Independent School District. The only one ever. And that's hard to believe because San Antonio is so Hispanic oriented. It's good. The culture here is all mostly Hispanic, but for whatever reason, I've been the only one. Well, I stayed 12 years in San Antonio ISD and really enjoyed it. Thought that we accomplished a lot of our goals and did a lot of things that it's too long to name, but at the end of the day, we're very happy with what we did. And then the Dallas job came open, and the salary was very, very good. So, I'm thinking about, well, I'm going to retire pretty soon, and that sure is going to help my retirement. And then I started reading a little bit about it, and the challenge was, wow, I wondered if I could do this. I thought I was prepared, but you never really know until you take that leap of faith. So I applied for the job and interviewed a couple of times, and I got the job in 2014. And my wife was currently working in San Antonio, so she did not go with me. She stayed at the house. finished her job, and I went to Dallas, lived in a 1-bedroom apartment. I think I had popcorn, Diet Cokes, and jalapenos for in my refrigerator. That was about it. And I stayed 3.5 years in Dallas, and I'm very proud of what we did there as well. I think we accomplished a lot of things that we wanted. And I retired in December of 2017. So make a long story short, I started in the Valley. I grew up in the Valley. I'm a graduate of Edinburgh High School. Went to college, played baseball, finished at Pan American, and started coaching in the Valley. At Edinburgh, became a head coach in EdCal Chelsea, PSJA. Was an athletic director since 1983. And retired, went to San Antonio and then Dallas. 34 years as an athletic director and 43 years in education. So it's been a long career. There's numerous things that I've done, working with the state association. I was the president of the Texas High School Athletic Director Association, inducted into their Hall of Honor. We won state championships in Dallas, which I'd never experienced before. What a thrill to get rings, that I only dreamt about. And then I even worked at the UIL as the UIL on the UIL State Executive Committee. And so I had a lot of experiences in my life, and I'm very fortunate to have had those experiences, and very humbled and appreciative for everything that people helped me along the way. So that in essence, that's my career.
That is a long career, a long journey, but a lot of learning took place, I'm sure, along the way as you continue to progress, and becoming an athletic director for not only a small school district to, the top school district in one of the top school districts in the state in terms of number of schools that you were responsible for. What is it that you could pinpoint that inspired you to actually enter the profession and then become an athletic director and continue on that path? Because some people, they become an athletic director and then say, I just want to go back to coaching because I'm not coaching kids anymore.
That's a good question. It's an excellent question. And I have the answer. I was an athlete in high school and college. And so athletics was in my blood. But as I was going through school, I started, I always dreamt about, because I majored in history. I always thought I was going to be a college history professor with a small office with books all around me, smoking a pipe or cigar, and just teaching college. But as I got into my college career and playing baseball, I kind of always wanted to be a coach. And when I got out, I just needed a job. Okay. So I got a job. And as I progressed in my career, I became an assistant in different sports. And I thought, man, I want to be a head coach. I know I want to do this. And really, since I was a baseball player per se, I wanted to be a head baseball coach. And but we were in Edinburgh, and we had a really great program. And Coach Joe Vasquez was the head coach there, and we were doing so well. He wasn't going to leave. I mean, we were just, why would you want to leave? You got a great thing going here. So when the EdCal Chelsea job came open, they contacted me, and I looked into it, and that was the beginning. Okay. So then, like I told you earlier, it just so happened that the head football job fell in my lap, and the AD job. So when I started this venture, I enjoyed coaching, man. That was, oh God, there's nothing like Friday night or game day. I mean, my God, it gives me goosebumps. Just that's what we got in it for. And it's just, what a feeling, especially when you win. And, but I as my career developed and I went to PSJA, the building of another high school, kind of the superintendent called me and said, do you still want to keep coaching, or do you want to be the boss and hire coaches and you're the AD? Well, I really thought long and hard, but the reason I chose to be an AD and I kept it up is because as an athletic director, you have your hands on the whole athletic department. And you're also in charge of hiring all the coaches, just not football, women coaches, men coaches, tennis, basketball, track, cross country, baseball, softball, all of these sports. So I thought to myself, wow, what an opportunity to make a difference in the school district. You no longer are going to be on a game day type of thing, feeling what you felt, but you're behind the scenes, controlling a lot of things that people don't see, but you know that you have a hand in it. So I thought the best way I can serve not just 150 football players or 50 baseball players in a program is I can influence a lot of coaches and a lot of athletes throughout the school district, which is way more than 150. That motivated me to stay as an athletic director. Now, listen, along the way, I made a lot of mistakes. I made a lot of mistakes, but I also learned a lot of things. Making mistakes, there's nothing wrong with that, but you better learn from them so you don't make them again. And I had a lot of people I looked up to, and a lot of people that helped me along the way. Too many to name here, but they know who they are. And I wouldn't be here in front of you if I didn't have their help. But I also learned a lot of things about what it takes to be successful. And I used those things. And fortunately for me, it helped me along the line to move up. And I never got reassigned. I never got fired. I thought I made a difference, a positive difference in where we were at. And, the rest is history, I guess, so to speak. I mean, so that's basically what inspired me to stay. I was able to impact more people than just the team I was in charge of. I had a lot of teams and I had a lot of, but with that came a lot of responsibility. Someone had asked me in Dallas, man, you have a big job. And I said to them, I really don't have a job because this is not a job. Man, I love to go to work. This was fun. What I had was a lot of responsibility. There was a lot of responsibility, but it wasn't ever a job. Of course, I never told the superintendents that because I didn't want them to stop paying me, but it was great to go to work. Everywhere I went, I enjoyed my job or my, yeah, I guess it was a job, but I enjoyed it. I never felt like I worked a day in my life. It was that much fun.
That's awesome to hear. And for people who don't know you, they are missing out on so much knowledge and so much experience. And you were a mentor to so many people. And you continue to be someone that I look up to and admire. And I have to say this, Gil, anytime that I've picked up the phone and called you, you've always answered. And that is something that I am truly grateful for. And the struggles that I've had throughout my coaching career and some of the decisions that I made that whether they kept me out of coaching now that I'm not in the profession the way that I started, but I made the decision to walk away. As you become a mom, there are decisions that you have to make, and I made that early. I would say now 5 years ago, because it was time. It was time for me. But I coached a camp this summer, and that same feeling, it was like riding a bike. You go back into the gym, and it was so exciting. So it's still there. I think that when my son we're able to finish and do everything, I may end up going back or may coach club or something. It's still there. That passion is still there. But what are some of the obstacles and challenges you faced throughout your career in various areas? You can pick one or just kind of give us an overview, some of the obstacles that kind of stand out to you.
Well, I've had a few. Being an Hispanic, there's some places that I felt that when jobs came open, that it's probably best that I, didn't waste my time, so to speak. I would say that I never really was discriminated against in my lifetime. But there's places where, they're probably not going to hire Gil Garza. I think, it's very easy to make excuses, and it's very easy to find reasons why not to do something. But I always looked at it, you gotta find opportunities and go for it. You've got to sometimes jump off the cliff and flap your arms and just fly. And you can't be scared. Of course, don't go full jump off a cliff, but you've got to fly, and you've got to go for it. A lot of people in the valley, and it was me. I left when I was 50 years old. Uh, we're comfortable. That's where we grew up. We know everybody. People take care of each other, and you're just get very sedentary, and you just don't want to try anything. Well, when the San Antonio job came open with some prodding from my wife, I I applied, and everything worked out. I think what happens a lot, Lizette, is let me see if I can put this in the right text context. I think what helps you along the way is hard work. Uh, People notice people who work hard. I know I did. When you pick assistants, when you pick head coaches, when you elevate people within the organization, you look for people that work hard. Um, you want to be prepared. I observed a lot of things as I was um, moving up the ladder. Things that I noticed from coaches that I never wanted to be like. That's not good. And then I noticed some things that were, oh boy, that's a great deal. I want to do exactly that. So you tweaked your own philosophy into what you liked, and you threw away what you didn't like, and you moved ahead. But I've seen people who have applied for jobs because I've been on interview committees, thousands of them, that aren't prepared. They're just not prepared. And whether you're an Hispanic, an African American, an Anglo, or other, when I interviewed coaches, I didn't interview them by myself. I had assistants. There were principals, central office staff, other teachers on a committee. So you've got to impress a lot of people. And the way you do that is you have to be prepared. And if I would advise young men and women about moving on up, the interview process is critical, because that little time period is when people get to know you, and you have to be sincere. You have to have a plan. You have to be convincing. Hey, this is the person for this job. And if you're not prepared for it, you're probably not going to get it. Now, does politics ever come into play? You talked about obstacles. That's probably one of the biggest obstacles. Local politics sometimes will get in the way, and there's not a whole lot of things that you can do about it. You may be the token interviewee. They're going to interview 8 people, and 3 of them better be minorities. And you go through it, you get all excited, but you never really had a chance. But you didn't know that. But still, you prepare like you're ready for it. You go in there and do your best. And even if you don't get it, you've learned from the process. You've got some experience now as in a big interview. So don't take it like, well, I didn't get it, and you give up. Just learn from your experience and keep moving on, and learn along the way. Be prepared. You have to be prepared. When I interviewed in San Antonio and Dallas, I think there was like anywhere from 6 to 8, 10 people on the committee that I'd never seen in my life before. And you talk about, and they're looking at you. You better know what you're doing. And if you don't, you're going to go home without the job. And there's no one there to help you except yourself. So you have to come across with a plan, with a vision, with some confidence that you can do it, and sell them on you that you can, and they're going to give you that opportunity. So that's my 2 cents of advice. Be prepared, work hard, have a plan, and sell it.
Now, Gil, when you went in for those interviews, those 2 specifically, those are big school districts. How did you prepare for those types of interviews, because these are, now I would assume that the SAISD interview process prepared you for the DISD,
Yeah.
but what was that process like?
Well, okay, you're gonna make me tell you my secrets. What I did is I got on the internet and I studied what San Antonio ISD was. Like when I went in, I knew what every high school was. I didn't know it the day before, but I practiced. I knew who the Highland Owls were, who the Lanier Volks were, because if I had to speak about schools, I wanted them to know this guy knows our schools, you know. And one of the principals from Fox Tech was in there, and I mentioned that, and that didn't hurt me. So you did a lot of research on that. You got on the internet. I knew a couple of guys in San Antonio who were sports writers, and I called them and I said, "Hey, can you tell me a little bit about SAISD? What's the good, the bad, the ugly? What are they good at? What's going on?" So I got a little bit of tips on what was going on. I knew a neighbor that I grew up with that was a middle school principal in San Antonio. So I called her and I said, "Can you tell me a little?" So I was getting to know the district. This was an athletic director job in San Antonio. I didn't know anyone in the athletic department. I didn't know any coaches. I really couldn't call anybody like that, but I did call sports writers and I called her. And besides, I did a little research on the school district on the internet. So I just wanted to get a little handle on what I was getting myself into. The questions completely, I didn't know what they were going to ask me. So thank God they asked me some questions that I could speak about, so that was good. Now, when I went to Dallas, what I did is I got on the YouTube, and the superintendent was a guy named Mike Miles. And I got on the YouTube and I said, "Mike Miles, convocation speech." Oh man, he talked a lot about teamwork, leadership. And I really liked him, just listening to him. And so I got a lot of his catchphrases. So I also knew a couple of people in Dallas that helped me out. One sports writer, and again, did a lot of research on the internet about what was going on. Called a couple of people in the UIL that I knew that knew about Dallas and some of the issues there. So what I was doing, Lizette, was preparing. I was preparing and just trying to, I take a shower and pretend somebody asked me something and just practice answering in the shower or shaving, just, practicing in an interview, because you can never practice too, you got to prepare. So during the interview, anytime I could mention teamwork and leadership, I looked right at Mr. Miles and he was just nodding his head, because those are things he believed in, things I believed in. So I wanted him to know that, hey, I'm on the same page with you here. The fact that I got onto the UIL State Executive Committee when I was in San Antonio and that I applied in Dallas didn't hurt me at all. It helped me tremendously, because at the time they needed some experience with UIL issues. And the fact that I was on the State Executive Committee, whoa, that helped me a lot. Man, it got me the job. But anyway, those are some of the things that I did to prepare myself for the interviews in San Antonio and in Dallas. But even if you're a head coach, you do the same thing. You what's their win and loss record? What have they been? When's the last time they went to the playoffs? I'm going to tell you a quick little story of a guy that I interviewed. I asked him a question. I said, "Coach, if you get this job, what kind of offense and defense are you going to run here at our high school?" And of course, he gave me the general answer. Well, I'm going to do this and that. But then what he said, I'll never forget, and I still haven't forgotten. He said, "Coach, at the end of the day, it's not so much of what offense and defense we run." And I'm going to say it this way, and I've heard it 100 times since. He said, "It's not about the X's and the O's, it's about the Jimmies and the Joes." And I'm going to get the Jimmies and the Joes ready. I'm going to instill self-confidence in them. I'm going to build up their strength, their speed, their agility. I'm going to make them believe in themselves. I'm gonna take care of their overall. I'm gonna help them pass. I'm gonna make sure they're disciplined, they go to school. And if I do all of those things, no matter what we do on the X's and O's, we got a chance. And what an answer. That guy sold him on, I mean, he got the job because that's what we're here to grow people and make people better. And I really believe that if you do that, the winning will take care of itself.
Absolutely. And I think that that's what we're doing with Behind the Whistle, and we're teaching coaches how to do that, because oftentimes we still have some veteran coaches that have not bought into this notion that that authoritarian, that dictatorship style of coaching, that doesn't work anymore. Our kids need something different, and that doesn't mean that we are soft or that we're a little bit weaker. That doesn't mean that. That just means that our style of coaching has to change to suit the needs of the students that we are serving now, because they have so much information in the palm of their hands. So the first question out of their mouth all the time is why? Why are we doing this? Why is that important? Why, coach? And if you can't answer that why, then you're going to struggle.
You sound like a mother with a child.
Yes, but it took me a while to learn that, Gil.
I often say that, and I'm not trying to pick on people, but the worst thing I hate is, hey, it's my way or the highway. I don't like that. What I've always told coaches is, look, there's a right way and a wrong way. We're going to do things the right way. And I think if you can convince kids why they have to work hard, they have to come to school, they have to pass, they need to do their best, they need to be disciplined, you're going to get that out of them rather than screaming and yelling and telling them, if you don't do it this way, you're out of here. That turns the kids off quicker than anything. But if they can buy into what the right way is, you've got them in your hand. And when you got them in your hand, you're on your way to success. Okay. So I agree with you 100%. That authoritative, it just doesn't work anymore.
No, people are different. And that leads me to my next question. What does it mean to you to be a Latino leader in this profession, in this athletic profession that we are in here in the state of Texas? Because, quite frankly, there aren't too many that look like you, Gil, or me. And luckily, when you left DISD, we have a woman now who looks like me that is there, but we don't have too many like her.
Yeah. When I got the job in Dallas, I'll answer that question in a minute. When I got the job in Dallas, I was the only Hispanic that Dallas ISD had ever had as an athletic director. In Dallas ISD, the only one. Now with Sylvia getting the job there, she was an assistant on our staff. Now we have another Hispanic, but we also have a female. And so now they kill two birds with one stone, which I don't think they meant to do that, but I think Sylvia will be a good role model for females and Hispanic as well. So not only did I was the only one, they followed it right back up with not only another one, but a female. After there was one AD in the between us, but yeah, I'm really proud of Sylvia. She's she's going to be a good role model for a lot of people. How did I feel about being a Latino leader? When I went to San Antonio, I got a phone call, and I don't remember exactly who it was that called me, but they said some really nice things about, hey, you go and represent, and you made it out of here, and a lot of people look up to you, and you congratulations, and you do it right. And I never really thought about that until that guy called me. So, I tell people this: you're an athletic director, which is one time human resources lady told me there's only two jobs that people care about in a district: the superintendent and the athletic director. That's somebody from San Antonio told me that. And I said, wow, I'm in pretty good company. But you can't be an athletic director from 8 to 5. You're an athletic director 24/7 every day of the week. And because of that, you have some certain responsibilities. I talked about that word earlier, that you have to lead, you have to be a role model. Certainly, I wanted to do well because a lot of people were looking at me and can this guy do it? And in Dallas, it was the same way. Who is this guy? You know? And I just didn't represent Latinos. There were Anglo students, African American students, other students that I was representing, and there was just lots of parents that I was representing. They wanted a leader. They wanted an AD that was going to be fair and honest with everyone. I knew what my goals, what my responsibilities were, and I just worked real hard to make sure that I didn't let myself, my family, or anyone down, including the Hispanic population. You know, I I was fortunate that I was able to work at the UIL with the UIL, a state exec committee. I was one of two Latinos on that board. I was the only athletic director on that board. Everyone else was retired or they were superintendents, but I was the only active athletic director. They had some retired ADs on there, but I was the only one that was an active AD. And I had 5 good years there and really learned a lot and tried to represent. But I knew in the back of my mind that there were people watching. You know, let me put it this way, and I'm going to relate to you as a female. When you get in these jobs, they're hard to find when I was first started. And you almost have to work twice as hard as a man just to prove yourself because you're a female. And that's not fair. That's not fair at all. But that was the way it was. And who knows, maybe it's still that way. Now, 2021, I know over 20 female athletic directors in the state, and they're great. And they can hire head football coaches. And they're awesome. They're much more organized than I ever was. They do a good job. They care. They represent very well. And it's not fair that because you're a female, you have to work twice as hard. But I knew as an Hispanic male in school districts that were not like the Valley, which was a lot of Hispanics, that there were people looking at me and watching, and I needed to represent the Hispanic community and make sure that I do a good job, but not only for Hispanic kids, but for everyone. Being an athletic director is so much fun. I could go on and on about my responsibilities and what I like the best and what I didn't like the best. And it was just an awesome experience. I mean, if anyone who ever becomes an athletic director, it's going to have fun.
Well, we probably need to write a book then, Gil, because you've experienced quite a bit and you've seen quite a bit. But I think, that something that stands out, and I said this to you earlier, is you represented us from the Rio Grande Valley, and you gave so many people permission to leave and say, you know what? Well, if he can do it, then I can do it too. Okay, so he went to San Antonio. It's just the bigger valley. Mm-hmm. But then he went to Dallas. So you know what? I can go to Dallas too, or I can go to Houston because, Gil's over there and I might be able to pick up the phone and call him. And I think that's where people sometimes, you get into these positions as an AD and they feel intimidated by the title. And I know when people would talk to me, well, how do you know Gil Garza? And I said, well, I just had a conversation with him. Yeah. That's, now did it help that I was from the Valley and he was from the Valley? Absolutely. But when it boiled down to it, it was a conversation, and you took a chance on me and placed me in a situation that was interesting at Fox Tech, but I grew so much from there. And that was one of my best experiences ever as a coach. So I have to say thank you for that.
I've had a lot of, I've had a lot of Hispanic coaches who are applying for assistant AD or AD jobs call me and ask me for my advice on the interview part of it. And I always give them my time, and sometimes I probably ramble too much, but I want them to have a chance at it. Most of the time they don't get it. So much for my help, but it's don't give up, because in Dallas, we have 22 high schools. That means we have 44 basketball coaches, 22 male, 22 female, boys teams, girls teams. There's only one athletic director in Dallas. So you see the odds, 44, and there's one. It's hard to get that one. So don't think you're a failure. It's just that it wasn't the right time, or something else happened, or whatever, but you can't give up. You just can't give up on yourself. And I've tried, I'm always open to speaking to coaching staffs, coaches on the phone. I'm going to give you my phone number, okay? Because this is a Zoom. It's 210-387-2004. 210-387-2004. And anybody watching this, if they need anything from me, just call me. I'll pick up the phone. I'm just like you, anybody else. I'm not any better. I tried to always stay grounded. I knew I had my son, when I got to San Antonio, he says, "Dad, you've got a lot of power." And I said, son, I really don't want power. What I want is influence. And I want to influence a lot of people in the right way that eventually will influence kids, because those are the ones that we need to worry about. And that's what I always try to do. So I'm here to help anybody, anytime. I mean, I'm retired now, so I got tons of time.
Gil has tons of time to talk and to play golf. So if you really want to talk to him, go take him out for a round of golf.
Or leave me a message. I'll call you back.
Yes. Now, this is probably the toughest question, Gil. What is your favorite tradition, your Hispanic tradition, Latino tradition, something that, and this can be related to the workplace, maybe you implemented something, or to your family, what is something that you enjoy about our culture?
Well, I don't know about, I'm going to tell you two things. First of all, what I really enjoyed about a tradition was our pregame talks with our kids right before we went out on the field, either at a football game or, in my case, a baseball game. That was my last chance to motivate our kids, to get them focused, to get them ready to play. And I just felt that that was a big responsibility that I had as a head coach, especially a football team, because, there's a lot of players on that team that I don't basically coach every day, because I'm with a certain group, and there's a lot of groups in football. But when you come together, now they're going to listen to the head coach. So those pregame talks I had with them, I prepared so much on what to tell them, and everything had to be different. You can't give the same speech all the time. Sometimes you didn't need to say a lot. Sometimes you needed to say a lot. And that little bit of time that I had with them, man, that was special to me. And sometimes I did a great job, and sometimes I probably bombed, but I always tried and prepared. Now, as far as an Hispanic tradition, what we used to do after every home game, both at Ed Cal Chelsea and at PSJs, whether we won or lost, we would have a get together at one of the coaches' house, usually my house, and we would take turns providing food for everyone, and have a few Diet Cokes and relive the game, and just and we bring our families, the kids, the wives, girlfriends, and just unwind. And that meant a lot to me, because we could, sort of like take our coaching clothes off and just be ourselves. And of course, we couldn't stay too late because we had to practice the next morning. But that's probably one tradition. And you know what? Really, when I became an athletic director, only an AD at PSJA, we had two high schools, and a lot of these schools continue that tradition, but they never would invite me. because I was the boss. They didn't want the boss there. So I missed that a lot. What the heck? So my wife and I would go home and have a Diet Coke ourselves. I mean, there was, I mean, my responsibilities and my job title changed. And with it, some of those traditions. And there was no more pregame speeches. There was other things, but not that. So those are the two things I think that I can think of right away that I enjoyed and were traditions for me.
That's interesting, because I assumed, just like what you just explained, with going after the game, going to the head coach's house. It was usually a head coach. I remember going to Pete Bella's house all the time when my dad was in Mercedes. And I mean, it was all the kids, or we'd go to Bunko at Pete Bella's house, or
Yeah.
whatever it was, but it was always the family. And when I moved to San Antonio and started coaching myself, it was weird that people didn't do that.
Yeah.
That was something that, I don't know if it just takes place because we were in such a small community. I don't know, but no other place that we've been to have I seen that same camaraderie, that same welcoming, that community. And I don't know if that has to do with us being Latino there in the Rio Grande Valley,
Yeah. It could
but it
be.
was special. It was special. I will say that.
Yeah. Well, those are my traditions. I'll tell you one thing. As a baseball coach, I would always put trash that I found around third base, because that was the third base coaching box. I always put it in my pocket, just little trash, sunflower seeds wrappers, and I wouldn't take it out of my pocket until after the game. I don't know why I did that, but sometimes I had my back pocket full of stuff, but I don't know. I just picked it up and put it in my back pocket and never took it out until after the game. Win or losing. I could tell you so many stories about my career, but that's enough for another day.
Well, Gil, I have to say thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me, to catch up. I know it's been a while since we've seen each other. We are here in San Antonio, so we need to go have lunch, most definitely. But I want to say thank you so much for launching my career in athletics first and foremost, but more importantly, for always being a friend and someone that I can count on, really like a father to me more than anything else, because anytime that I've called and I've needed advice on something, I've been able to pick up the phone and you've always answered and given some sound advice, and I appreciate that. So thank you so much.
Okay, Lizette, let me just say a couple things before I get out of here. I think being a coach is just a wonderful experience. The first time somebody said coach to me, oh my God. And I was a middle school coach, but even I still remember, wow, he called me coach. And I was getting paid for this. And I think it's a great opportunity to really influence kids and help them become good young women and men in life. As your career moves on, and if you want to go higher, being an athletic director, an administrator is to me, a blessing, because you can influence so many coaches. And I think our main job was to grow people and watch them blossom, help them grow. When coaches called me at the office, I enjoyed that because it was my opportunity to help them, whether it was equipment, whether it was advice, whether it was anything else. It was an opportunity to help another fellow coach. And that to me gave me my greatest satisfaction. And I welcome people that are looking at this, that want to grow, continue to grow, work hard, prepare yourselves, surround yourself with good people. To me, that's very big. I had somebody tell me one time, people like to surround themselves with winners, and me too. But a winner, not necessarily on the scoreboard. There's good people, and there's people you don't need to hang around with. And you need to surround yourselves with good people. Network, read, visit, go to conferences, listen to other people, learn. And those kinds of things will help you, achieve your goals as you go up the ladder, that if you want to go places. And when you get that opportunity, go for it and be prepared, and you can do it. Somebody said, what is your biggest strength? You know what my biggest strength was? Hiring good people. When I had the chance to hire assistant athletic directors, they were better than me. I kind of just got out of their way. And they together, we steered that boat the right way. But I didn't do it myself. I had a lot of good help. Now, you got to know how to hire that good help. When I was a head football coach, the best thing I did was hire great assistants. A lot of those people became ADs and head coaches. If you don't hire good people and you can't realize who good people are, it's harder because you're going to have to do the work. So hire, and you know who I learned that from? A superintendent. He told me, I hire the best administrators I can find, and then I get out of their way and I let them work. They'll take care of me. And I learned that from him. And those are things that I never forgot. So the more networking you can do, the better you can surround yourself around winners, the easier your job is going to be, So anyway, call me back whenever you want to talk.
That's excellent advice. And we just want to say thank you so much, Gil, and have fun on the golf course.
Well, my handicap's getting better.
Yes. Good. Thank you, Gil.
Thank you, Lizette.